All right. I want to thank everybody for inviting me out to speak today. I'm Galen Hardy, and I'm a community engagement specialist with the Office of Sustainability and Innovations Department. And today I'm going to talk about our 820 plan. It's our audacious plan to reach carbon neutrality by the year 2030, which is just the next 9 years. So it's not 10 years anymore. That clock is ticking. And we've just reached our 1 year anniversary as of June 1st. So let's jump into it. Um, so what is climate change? Climate change is a long-term shift in global or regional climate patterns. It's different than weather, which is what we experience on a particular day and in a particular location. Climate change is the overall average shift of what we are experiencing over time. Climate change is an overall average shift of what we are experiencing over time. Ann Arbor's climate trends, projections, and impact. Ann Arbor has already experienced some pretty notable shifts in our local climate, including a nearly 1 degree increase in temperature since the 1900s. And this is expected to rise at least 3 more degrees to 7 degrees Fahrenheit by 2050. Additionally, we've already experienced a total annual precipitation increase by over 44% since the 1950s. So that's a whole lot more rain. The total volume of rain falling during extreme events has increased by more than 37% since 1981. Whew. Looking into the future, Ann Arbor is projected to see the impacts of climate change in many ways, which includes, just like I said, more rainfall. We're going to see less snow, and we've seen less snow, except in February this year. Increasing temperatures and climate-related human migration, meaning that folks will start moving to Ann Arbor from climate-ravaged areas. So if you ever heard of the term climate refugees, that term probably came out when Katrina happened, and those folks had to relocate. So that type of migration will occur because we're not as climate prone as some of those other areas. For example, we are also expected to experience 12 to 36 more days of temperatures over 90 degrees Fahrenheit by mid-century, and 30 to 42 more days per year of 90 degrees temperature by the end of the century. Such changes can lead to negative impacts such as flooding, heat-related illnesses. So when we're thinking about heat-related illnesses, we're thinking about the elderly, the folks that are like, shelter deficient, the elderly, sometimes they can't control their body temperatures. So you might see more, heat strokes and whatnot. But there's also a nice line of positivity. This could increase the growing season for farmers and more green job opportunities, as we begin to address, climate change. What is resilience? Everybody has a term of resilience, but we define resilience as, as the ability to anticipate, accommodate, and positively adapt. So when we say like, bounce forward, in our office, we never use the term, we're going back to normal. If we go back to normal before the shocks and stresses happen, when those same shocks and stresses happen again, we'll be impacted. So we always say we want to bounce forward in the midst of climate shocks and stresses that impact our community and our livelihood. So, just like the COVID, we want to come out of this better. And I think our office has done a wonderful job of doing that work. Our 820 vision, it starts with residents and allies organizing. Equity has to be embedded in all decision making of the government, on including federal and state environmental regulations. They must have teeth. Our local governments, can declare a climate emergency, and set a plan, a date to achieve it. It has to begin somewhere, but wherever it starts, it has to have equity at its core. So when we were, we did declared a climate emergency back in November of 2019. And we had to produce a plan by March of 2020. So in those 82 days, we had 3 public surveys. We did over 60 public events with our partners. We held 2 large town halls. And also we had the assistance of about 80 technical advisors. And right now it says 62 partner organizations. Right now we're about 70 some odd. And here's the process of how we came up with the plan. So you see that funnel. So imagine a funnel. And, at the top, you'll see we began with ideation phase. And here, our technical advisors assembled the best ideas and ranked them. Then we had the initial prioritization of those ideas. And it had to be those ideas that could be quantified and delivered to our consultants who attach greenhouse gas impacts and costs. So what came out the bottom of that funnel was the plan. And our plan had 4 elements. So when you're thinking about energy, mobility, resource reduction, and adaptation and resilience, energy, well, as we studied energy, we really looked at buildings, using energy efficiently, transitioning to renewable energy, and encouraging net zero energy buildings. This element is important because the fossil fuels needed to heat and cool buildings, and also like our homes, generate significant amounts of greenhouse gas emissions. So by making our buildings more efficient and using renewable energy, like solar, we can reduce emissions from our building. So when we think about mobility, we're just, talking about transportation. And that means designing and connecting our homes, businesses, and public spaces around an efficient, multimodal, and zero carbon transportation network. Cars, buses, and other motorized vehicles generate greenhouse gases. And that's about 20% of the total in our community. Where homes and businesses and schools are located, this increases the amount of time we need in our vehicles, such as any of you getting dropped off to school in the mornings. There's a cost on that, and this further exacerbates the issue. We also need to consider how to make these systems, which, are heavily dependent on, we're all heavily dependent on transportation because, we're one of the only regions in America, like the Detroit metropolitan region without metropolitan transit, such as rail or, high-speed rail or other things that don't use fossil fuels. So when we talked about resource reduction, we're really discussing the circular economy. And here we're discussing minimizing waste by changing how our community consumes and disposes of goods and materials. Properly disposing of our waste or avoiding creating waste altogether, reduces greenhouse gases and dependency and the depletion of our natural resources. So adaptation and resilience. This falls under strategy 6, ensuring that all of our neighborhoods can thrive every day, even in the face of, remember, shocks and stressors. It is critical that we work together to ensure that residents and businesses are prepared to address flooding, high heat days, extreme storms. This is why we have a plan of creating resilience hubs. Those are places where in times of distress or trouble, residents are normally on their own for about 3 days. So when we, place resilient hubs in every ward, those would be the rallying places that residents would go to. Those places will be powered by solar. Also, they have food, medical supplies, and other things that you need to hang in there until help comes. So to the plan. Our 820 strategies, there are 7 of them, and 7 overarching strategies, I'd rather say, will serve as the foundation of the plan. The strategies are firmly immovable, and I'm sure that none of that will surprise you. The 7 strategies are powering our electrical grid with 100% renewable energy, meaning that we're not getting energy from fossil fuels. We don't need coal, natural gas, and all these other things that are polluting our environment. Switching our appliances and vehicles from gasoline, diesel, propane, etc. Switching from those fossil fuels. And we want to significantly improve the energy efficiency of our homes, businesses, our schools, places of worship, and recreational sites. Reducing the miles we travel by 50%. Pre-COVID, about 80 some thousand people traveled to Ann Arbor every day, including myself. I live in Detroit, but I drive to Ann Arbor every day. There are some folks who work for the city and other places that live further, Flint, Jackson, Toledo, because Ann Arbor is totally unaffordable. So we need to have a place where you can work, live and play, as opposed to just working and playing. Also, enhancing the resilience of our people and our places. That falls into our 820 initiative. Residents going out, teaching other residents, about carbon neutrality, our sustaining Ann Arbor grant and other things. And then the other strategy is our agent in place work, our green rental, our time of marketing strategies, benchmarking, and other things that we have. And these are the actions that accompany those 7 strategies. Our neighborhood ambassadors, they fall under Action 36, but these it's like 44, and they're all attached to the strategy. So if you ever read the 820 plan, look at those actions, and they'll correspond to these 44 actions. Our 820 plan will build on the work we've already completed, and create a comprehensive strategy for how the entire Ann Arbor community can achieve carbon neutrality by 2030 in a just and equitable manner. So you may have heard the terms adaptation, mitigation. So what do they mean? Mitigation means actions we take to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases we are releasing to the atmosphere to slow down climate change. This includes actions that reduce our building energy use and allows people to walk and bike instead of taking gas-powered vehicles. But even with these mitigation actions, adaptation is still necessary because we know there's a certain amount of change already locked in based on our past greenhouse gas emissions. So we need to prepare for those impacts. This could include actions like making sure we have emergency preparedness plans and that new development takes measures to reduce the likelihood of flooding and among others. And then also in new developments, making sure that they are consistent with our future visions. Like many of the new buildings that are coming up now, they won't have gas lines. And when we do this work, equity still, like I say, equity has to be at the center. Because if we're going to reach carbon neutrality, it can't be the rich cross the line first and then the poor, come behind. No, if the poor crosses the line first, the rich is going to be okay. So then that means that we're all getting there at the same time. So for Ann Arbor, these 3 concepts combined into our climate resilience work, which is really our 820 initiative. In general, climate resilience means we are taking both adaptation and mitigation actions that helps us not to just maintain the status quo, but actually improve the quality of life, and allows us to move towards an equitable and thriving future, everybody. So the pillars of 820, it has, it's sustainable, equitable, and transform. When we say equitable, we want to we mean that ensuring everybody gets what they need to succeed based on where they are and where they need to go. Some of the characteristics of this of our equity, plans is transparent. Our 820 plan is a living document. Everyone has access to it, and we, do do our best to keep the community abreast of what's going on. It's community led, meaning that the residents are leading this initiative, and that means that we have to have robust feedback. That's why we created our 820 ambassadors. It has to be inclusive, not just for the vocal minority, who has access to politicians, but it has to prioritize our frontline population. Just like I said, before, the rich always got what they wanted, the affluent, and those who were like indigenous, poor, or people of color were just, historically ignored. So when we talk about sustainable, we mean meeting the needs of the present without jeopardizing the ability of future generations like you, to meet their own needs. So what we do today cannot impact, or hinder what you need, in the future. Some of the characteristics of this is, we have a living plan and it's holistic, all encompassing. So when we talk about transformative, this has to cause major change to something or someone, especially in a way that makes it better for them. Characteristics of this is failure positive, it's diversified, and it's accessible to everyone, not just the chosen few. And right now, we're already hard at work. The city of Ann Arbor has already started identifying and implementing some climate adaptation mitigation actions. We are ready to build off these actions and create a more holistic action plan for how we'll achieve carbon neutrality community-wide by 2030. And you can see some of the things we're really doing. We're trying to, increase our recycling, and attempting to move to year-round composting. We have a community solarized program, which I'll get into. We've added miles of bike lanes, to cut down those vehicle miles traveled. The Complete Streets Initiative is completed. We've added more electric vehicles and charging infrastructure to the city, and upgraded, completed energy upgrades with solar at our municipal buildings. And we've also kicked off our 10,000 trees initiative. And a couple of weeks ago, we gave away about 1,000 trees over 3 days to residents to plant in their own yards. So our solarized program. Our solarize our neighborhood is based on bulk buying solar opportunity. It's one of our most popular programs we have at the city and has resulted in an addition of over 100 solar arrays that are new. A resident invites his or her neighbors to a presentation on solar, and they have the opportunity to bulk buy with discounts related to volume. So how it works is, if 3 or more of your neighbors sign up, all of you will receive a 5% discount. If 7 or more sign up, you get a 10% discount. And if 10 or more sign up, you get a 15% discount. And our installers are pre-vetted and they participate with Michigan Saves Green Bait for low interest financing as well. We launched our e-bike discount program in July of 2020 in collaboration with Common Cycle Co-op, Human Electric Hybrids, Ann Arbor Vacuum, SICK Transit, and Human Electric Hybrids. And the bikes range about a couple of grand. Well, I think I said a couple of grand, but up to about $1,500, and they'll go about a maximum of about 18 miles per hour. Unless you're going downhill, you probably can get 25. Also, we have a Sustaining Ann Arbor grant. The grant is intended to promote and resource community-based activities to help residents complete small-scale projects in the right-of-way and on city public property, which includes Ann Arbor Public Schools. Grant amounts are up to about $10,000, and some larger projects have been approved on a case-by-case basis. And the funding is about $100,000 per year. Some of the grant requirements are, you need evidence the proposed location or any temporary or fixed installation is suitable for its proposed use. You need complete signed application and scope of work. uh, projected maintenance costs and responsibility of future maintenance costs. Because, if you're young and you want to do a program or do an installation, you want to make sure that, you have a plan to maintain it in your absence, if you decide to move or anything like that. And you need a statement describing the benefits that will result from the project and how it will be measured and evaluated. You need a project cost estimate and evidence of support from impacted stakeholders. So if you do something at your school, you want to make sure that you get feedback from your fellow students. Some of the activities we've completed since June of 2020, we have a new project management process and platform. We've redesigned our website. We've created a new community engagement strategy. We're also working on an equitable engagement strategy, to change the way we've done engagement, and we want to include those members from those communities on the steering committee. We also have an energy strategy. We've established a quarterly newsletter, and we've added youth commissioners to energy and environmental commissions. Young Win is one of our new youth environmental commissioners, and we've launched a YouTube channel in partnership with CTN. And that's my presentation. If you have any questions, if you would like to become an A20 ambassador, if you want to know more about the Equitable Engagement Toolkit, please send me an email and I can get that information out to you. And now I'll take questions.
Wow. I for one, just want to say thank you, Galen. Super inspiring. And Young Win, if you would like to moderate questions for Galen, that'd be awesome.